Boys and girls, when we left off, we were reading about how Mr. Wonka made a stick of gum, the most amazing and fabulous and sensational gum in the world. The next chapter is called Goodbye Violet. That doesn't sound very good for Violet. This gum, Mr. Wonka went on, is my latest, my greatest, my most fascinating invention. It's a chewing gum meal. It's that tiny little strip of gum lying there in a whole 3-course dinner all by itself. What sort of nonsense is this? Said one of the fathers. My dear sir, said Mr. Wonka, when I start selling this gum in the shops, it will change everything. It will be the end of all kitchens and all cooking. There will be no more marketing to do, no more buying of meat and groceries, no more knives and forks at meal times, no plates, no washing up, no garbage, no need, no mess, just a little strip of Wonka's magic chewing gum. And that's all you'll ever need for breakfast, lunch, and supper. This piece of gum I've just made happens to be tomato soup, roast beef, and blueberry pie, but you can have almost anything you want. What do you mean it's tomato soup, roast beef, and blueberry pie? Said Violet Beauregard. If you were to start chewing it, said Mr. Wonka, then that is exactly what you would get on the menu. It's absolutely amazing. You can actually feel the food going down your throat and into your tummy, and you can taste it perfectly. And it fills you up. It satisfies you. It's terrific. It's utterly impossible, said Veruca Salt. Just so long as it's gum, shouted Violet Beauregard. Just so long as it's a piece of gum and I can chew it, then that's for me. And quickly she took her own world record piece of chewing gum out of her mouth and stuck it behind her left ear. What's the matter, Boogie? Can't get comfy? There you go. Come on, Mr. Wonka, hand over the magic gum of yours, and we'll see if it works. Now, Violet, said Mrs. Beauregard, her mother, don't let's do anything silly, Violet. I want the gum, Violet said. What's so silly? I would rather you didn't take it, Mr. Wonka told her gently. You see, I haven't got it quite right yet. There are still 1 or 2 things. Oh, to heck with that, said Violet, and suddenly, before Mr. Wonka could stop her, she shot out her hand, grabbed the gum out of the little drawer, and popped it into her mouth. At once, her huge, well-trained jaws started chewing away on it like a pair of tongs. Don't, said Mr. Wonka. Fabulous, shouted Violet. It's tomato soup. It's hot and creamy and delicious. I can feel it running down my throat. Stop, said Mr. Wonka. The gum isn't ready yet. It's not right. Of course it's right, shouted Violet, chewing and grinning both at the same time. The second course is coming up. It's roast beef. It's tender and juicy. What a flavor. The baked potato is marvelous. It's got a crispy skin and it's filled with butter. How interesting, Violet, said Mrs. Beauregard. You are a clever girl. Keep chewing, kiddo, said Mr. Beauregard. Keep right on chewing. This is a great day for the Beauregards. Our little girl is the first person in the world to have a chewing gum meal. Everyone was watching Violet Beauregard as she stood there chewing the extraordinary gum. Little Charlie was staring at her, absolutely spellbound, watching her lips as they pressed and unpressed, and Grandpa Joe was gaping. Mr. Wonka was wringing his hands and saying, It isn't ready. It's not right. You mustn't do it. Blueberry pie and cream, shouted Violet. Here it comes. It's perfect. It's beautiful. It's exactly as though I'm swallowing it. It's as though I'm chewing and swallowing a great big spoonfuls of the most marvelous blueberry pie in the world. Good heavens, girl, shouted Mrs. Beauregard. What's happening to your nose? Oh, be quiet and let me finish. It's turning blue. Blue, said Mrs. Beauregard. Your nose is turning into a blueberry. Your mother's right. Your whole face has gone purple. What do you mean, said Violet, still chewing away. Your cheeks, they're turning blue as well. Spit that gum out at once, ordered Mr. Beauregard. Mercy save us, the girl's going blue and purple all over. Even her hair is changing color. Violet, you're turning violet, Violet. What's happening to you? I told you I hadn't got it quite right, sighed Mr. Wonka. I'll say you haven't. Just look at this girl now. Everyone was staring at Violet. What a terrible, peculiar sight she was. Her face, hands, and legs, in fact, all the skin on her body, had turned brilliant purplish blue, the color of blueberry juice. It always goes wrong when we come to dessert, sighed Mr. Wonka. It's the blueberry pie that does it, but I'll get it right one day. You wait and see. Violet, you're swelling up. I feel sick, Violet said. I'm not surprised, said Mr. Beauregard. Good heavens, girl, you're blowing up like a balloon. Like a blueberry, said Mr. Wonka. Call a doctor. Prick her with a pin. Save her. But there was no saving her now. Her body was swelling up and changing shape that within a minute it had turned into nothing less than an enormous round blue ball, a gigantic blueberry. And all that remained of Violet Beauregard was a tiny pair of legs and a tiny pair of arms sticking out of the great round fruit and a little head on top. It always happens like that. I've tried it 20 times in the testing room on 20 Oompa Loompas, and every one of them finished up as a blueberry. It's most annoying. But I don't want a blueberry for a daughter, yelled Mrs. Beauregard. Put her back to what she was this instant. Mr. Wonka clicked his fingers, and 10 Oompa Loompas appeared. Roll Miss Beauregard into the boat and take her to the juicing room. The juicing room? What are they going to do to her there? Squeeze her. We've got to squeeze the juice out of her, and after that we'll have to see how she comes out. But don't worry, we'll get her repaired if it's the last thing we do. I am sorry about it. I really am. Already, the Oompa Loompas were rolling the enormous blueberry across the floor of the inventing room toward the door that led to the chocolate river where the boat was waiting. Mr. and Mrs. Beauregard hurried after them. The rest of the party watched them go. And along came the Oompa Loompas, singing as they took Violet Beauregard to the boat. And the next chapter is Along the Corridor. So, we lost Augustus and we lost Violet. I can only imagine what comes next. All right, boys and girls, have a good day.